Let's do this. Good morning, Bill. I'm gonna edit while we're talking here.
Good morning, Bill. Holy crap, man. It feels like I have not seen you in forever. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah. I
was
mean,
lamenting just yesterday how long it has been since I've seen you.
I'm gonna call this 2 weeks away. That's what we're gonna
Two
call
weeks
today's
away.
episode.
Yes, please do.
Yeah. Okay. There it is. There it is. Cool. Yeah. It's been a long couple of weeks. It's been busy. It's been crazy. Of
You've
course, we'll
been
talk about some of it.
traveling?
Yeah. What
Yeah.
uh, What about you? Has it been crazy busy and?
No, it's been terrible, man. I'm not had my bill around. I've been struggling. I've been sick this week, right? So
Hmm.
Tuesday, okay, so Monday, Alice stays home from school, right? And so Monday night, this nostril starts to feel a little bit wonky.
Hmm.
Before you're a parent, like you get this whole thing, you're like, it's gonna pass. Once you become a parent, dang
Yeah.
kids, right?
Yes.
So
Yes. Yeah.
Tuesday, I wake up, I feel like garbage, but I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna power through anyway, right? So I go to, I think one meeting moves, but everything else runs according to plan. And then on Wednesday, I was like, oh, I can't do this again. So
Yeah.
most things canceled on Wednesday, and I was like thinking I was at about 80%. No, I was like at like 60% on Wednesday, and then Thursday was 80%, and now we'll see how we feel today. Feeling pretty good so far.
Okay, so you're decent. You just the congestion's still there, but you're above ground.
Yes, yeah, I think so.
Okay,
I could
okay,
I could just be telling myself that. Could just
that's right.
be.
This could be a lucid dream.
What a terrible choice for a lucid dream.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Work, more work.
More work. Yes.
It's all you know, so that's all you dream about. Yeah,
Pretty
cool.
much.
Yeah, um, I actually have lots of questions for you. I had so many things. You know, when you're away and you're doing things, and it makes you think back to your routine. Like, oh, what
Yeah.
about this? Oh, what about this? Um,
What are
but
they?
they're in a book somewhere. It's not right here because I wrote them down as part of my away process. And I just
Oh,
haven't merged
okay.
those two back together. That's
Okay.
so that's good. Let's start there actually, because I've when you are either because you just did this recently, right? You went to California,
Hmm.
and you had a brief few days where you had to be out of your routine.
Yeah.
Do you create a new little fill-in routine for your regular one while you're away, or do you just like throw it all to the wind and be like it's a new place, different things are going to happen?
That's interesting. For me, I think routines just kind of happen naturally, right? Like I'll just kind of fall into them, but it takes me a little while to kind of fall into it, right? And traveling, I'm normally sleeping in a bed that's not mine, and it affects my sleep, right? So I don't need routines in the same way that I need them here, right? So like because like I'm there for a purpose. So
Mm, okay.
when I was in Cali, right? Like even though like there was one night that I went to this like after party that Lavender threw, and I
Hmm.
was there until like 1 a.m. I
Hmm.
was still up at like 6:30 the next morning and stuff like that, like without any effort at all, you know.
Right.
And so normally if I'm traveling for like work, it's like a usually like a conference kind of thing, right? So I'm going to be at a conference all day and stuff like that. So no, actually, I don't think that I do. I think I just kind of I'm there for a purpose
Hmm.
usually. So I'm usually pretty focus oriented.
Okay. And so, like, I know from like a routine standpoint, there's journaling, there's meditation, there's probably some sort of
Hmm.
morning routine you have. There's probably a evening routine for sleep. There's
Yeah.
all sorts of things because I have those too. So all of those are just kind of done when you're on the road.
You know, I've taken journals like with me on trips, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to journal while I'm like traveling and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
the whole thing feels so like upended, right? And like uh I need like a desk or like a table to write
Mhm.
at and stuff like that. And most of the times in like hotel rooms, you have a little desk that's crammed off in the corner and stuff like that, and it's not like
Yeah.
a fun place to sit and write at. So when I was in Cali this last time, I was like, "Do I want to meditate?" And I was like, no, I don't really, like I did
Yeah.
have this moment of like, do I want to sit and like meditate? And the space just felt so like weird and not mine that I just didn't really think that I would be able to like have a good session. So
Hmm. Hmm.
I didn't really do it. Uh, yeah, I don't know though. I wonder how long I would need to be at a place
Yeah.
that it would start to creep in, and I would need to build it.
Yeah.
That's a more interesting question to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm the opposite. I don't like do my exact habits, but I bring some sort of abbreviated version with me to make myself feel comfortable,
Oh,
in the
that's
environment
interesting.
that I'm in. Good
Yeah.
morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Michelle.
Yeah. So like,
Oh,
yeah.
hold on real quick. Melissa is dying to know why you got rid of your goats, Michelle. Like she asked me
Mm,
yesterday if I knew anything about this, and so I said
gotcha.
absolutely not, but I will ask the next time I see her. So this is the next time I'm seeing you.
Right. See you.
Um, See, okay, so what do you take with you? Like, what are you doing as far as routine goes when you're traveling?
Right. Well, so I try and do it as just a shortened version of everything that I
Hmm.
do. And so I don't actually have lots of stuff necessarily, just because on my phone I can do certain things. I can do meditations. I can do
Sure, yeah.
reading. I can do, different things like that. Obviously, I bring a book from
Hmm.
the plane. That is a plane routine for me. I always read on the plane because
Really?
it's such an uninterrupted time most of the time. Because when you walk into a plane, used to you'd sit down and it'd be like, all right, am I going to get a talker or am I going to get a quiet person? Right now, it's a whole lot more likely you just have somebody with it's
Yeah.
headphones on. Like everyone's
Hmm.
wearing headphones when they walk on.
Yep.
And so it's quiet. So it's all right, cool. I can. So I definitely I read like a book and a half, a book down and a half book back.
Okay, nice.
'Cause it's a long flight. And then so that's a routine for planes for me. But no, when I get there, like I set up my area so that I can wherever I want to pray and read in the morning, and wherever I want to stretch at night, and like I just bring all those things with me, mostly on my phone.
Now, I did do a fair amount of regular stretching when I was in California this last time because like I was walking a lot and it was all outdoor. I got sunburn on the first day. So like it was, you know, I do some things like that. Now, but now that I'm thinking about it, I always try to fly in the mornings
Hmm.
because for some reason this is ridiculous. I love getting breakfast at the airport. I know it's going to be like $350, but for some reason, it's just so nice to like
Yeah.
have breakfast before the flight.
Right.
So I always try to build my flights that way. So like I always try to fly out in the morning, fly back as late as I possibly can. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, like I was much more focused around stretching and like some mobility stuff while I was there this time. But it was largely tied to feeling just kind of tired and sore in different ways that I'm used to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like while I stand all day, right, here at the desk, standing is different than walking, right?
Yes.
And so 8 hours of walking versus, 8 hours of standing,
Yeah.
it
Totally
where
different.
where wears on the body differently.
Yeah. Totally different. Yeah. I actually had my worst sleep recorded on my Whoop band um, 2 nights ago when I got back, like
Interesting.
back to the house. So I'm not sure if it was just. I'm still trying to figure that one out because I didn't have a specific thing that would make it that way, but a combination of things maybe. So um, yeah,
My
it's
Whoop band, and I've been not paying a whole lot of attention to like doing like the daily journal and everything. I need to go in and dial it back a little bit because it's just like I was a little
thousand things.
overzealous whenever I built it, and it's like 1,000 things, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll do this later, and then I don't ever come back and do it.
Right.
However, my Whoop band was telling me that some of my metrics were off, indicating that I might be sick. Right, so like my skin temp was a
Yes.
little bit off,
Yep.
and something else was off as well. And I was like, that is very freaking interesting. Of course, by that point, I kind of felt like crap. So like, it wasn't really
Yeah.
all that useful, but
Right.
it was interesting. So,
Well, the last time I got sick, so I think I've been sick probably once in the last 6 months, but it was pretty
hmm
recently, 6 weeks ago, maybe something like that. Same
hmm
thing happened. It was the skin temperature elevation that caught my eye.
yeah,
It was yellow one day, and I was like, "That's weird." like, and then the next day
the
it
double
was,
tap.
yeah, stop it. And then the next day it was even worse. And I was like, oh, I don't feel so good. And then I didn't put that all together until I was like literally in the sick. I was like, oh, okay. My body was heating up. Got it. It
Yeah.
was fighting something. So
Yeah, that because like I had heard that people had been able to kind of catch like COVID warning signs early, and that was kind of interesting to me. So it was really cool to see that that validated itself. Whenever I was sick recently.
yeah. Yeah.
So
All right,
I don't have the
Michelle.
time I needed, and I'm starting with a new breed of milking goats in the spring.
All right, goat milk. What are you
Interesting.
gonna make? What are you gonna make with that goat milk, Michelle? Because obviously, if you say milking
Do
goats, you
people
want milk.
drink? Do people drink goat milk, or is it all like a cheese situation?
I don't know. I would assume overseas, certain places they probably do because it's the only stuff they have
Yeah,
access
maybe.
to. But yeah, I would think more cheese or who knows. You know, there's probably an article out there. 10 things to do
Probably
with
an
goat
article
milk.
out there. Yeah, right. There's probably some hipsters
Yeah,
who are doing some amazing things with goat milk,
that's right.
organic.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And including our friend Michelle. Oh yes,
Oh
it
yeah.
is so
Oh
good.
yes. It's so good, Bill. Wow. So good. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Man. Okay. So last
Okay.
Friday you weren't here. Sebastian was on as a guest.
Mm-hmm.
We did a pretty good interview, I would say. I think I did an okay job. I missed you though because I was like, man, I realized that we do like this kind of like joining together of questions, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
kind of balance out some of my like need for like technical stuff that I get
Mm.
very excited and like interested about.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. I think the interview went okay, but like at the end of it, I was like, that was like, in my opinion, definitely missing you as far
Mm.
as the questions you bring and everything.
Cool. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm
Very
I'm glad I missed you as well.
Yes, it worked all the way around. Yeah, well, I haven't had a chance to watch that yet, so I couldn't tell you, but it's I was excited about the subject. I know that much. So tell
Mhm.
me, give me the executive summary of what I missed.
Man, I think the executive summary, right, is that this is going to sound weird, but
Okay.
like interesting people are nerdy people.
Hmm.
That's my one line sentiment.
Nice. That's your story brand. Your one liner.
that's my brand script, everybody.
My one liner is nerdy people are cool.
No, we talked about what they're doing over there. How revenue operations is super important, and that it's not just the CRM, and that it's tied to all the other stuff. And it was a solid interview, right? He is really into the other things that he's into, and the part that I wish that
Hmm.
I had kind of dug into more was how those areas overlapped into the things that he do now, but
Oh,
didn't quite get to that point of
okay.
it. But it was good.
Interesting.
It was
Cool.
good.
Well, I'll definitely go back and watch it. I can't wait to see what happened while I was away. So, yes, I had one of those things, and so this will probably be a good end cap for just the trip. We can talk about stuff on the trip too if you want, but
Mhm,
is I had to move my calendar around about 2 weeks before. I didn't find out I was going on the trip until 2 or 3 weeks before,
mhm,
and so then I had to go back to the clients, and it was Monday through Wednesday, and so I had to go reschedule all those calls. Um,
mhm.
and they get a cadence of meetings, and so
Yep.
really need to put it in the same week. So I stacked my Thursday
Oh,
yesterday. It was
okay.
a 9-hour Zoom marathon, and so I slept very well last night. um, so today is more back to like a normal work day for me, but it's because I stacked that Thursday so big.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
so yeah,
If you want to have an easy Friday, you got to put in a good Thursday.
you do, and we talked about this on the first iteration of the show, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Love our
Hey,
Thursdays. We stack them
power
up.
shirts, Thursdays. Yeah. Like,
Yep.
and I think it's a Benjamin Franklin quote that if you manage the minutes, the hours take care of themselves.
Hmm.
It's like
Hmm.
if you want easy Fridays, you have to do good Thursdays, right?
Right.
If
Great
you want,
Thursdays make for great Fridays.
yeah, and if you want a super solid week, you need to plan the Friday before, right? Or the Sunday before, like
Mm.
I don't Sebastian and I did have a very interesting conversation that he like doesn't believe in work balance, right?
Mhm.
And that he hates the whole term of work balance. And I've been thinking about that since he said it, right?
Mm.
And oh my god, I'm so glad that you're here. Okay, so uh I think that that balance is different for everybody,
Yeah.
right? And okay, I was gonna I don't know how to okay. So pretend this is a very long stick, this
Okay.
pen, okay? So when you begin weapon training in kung fu, right, the very first thing you have to do is like a lot of like wrist strengthening, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because weapons are heavy, right?
Right.
And so pretend this is a very long stick, right? And so my teacher would be like, okay, you need to hold one end of the stick and just use just your wrist to like lift the stick,
Mhm.
right? So you're holding the stick like this, and you just have to like lift it up,
Right.
okay? And
Right.
so obviously with a stick, the longer the lever, the harder it is to lift. Good morning, Mike Tao. So I'm like over here, and I've got it choked all the way down, like I'm just barely holding onto the nub of this thing, and I can barely even like lift this stick, and it is just like a nightmare, right? And I can do like three, and so my teacher comes over, my Sifu, and he goes, "Hey, why don't you just choke up on that stick a little bit? It'll be a little bit easier." Right? And I was like, "Oh,
No one even told I could do that.
what a fascinating idea," right? So
Yeah.
my ego kind of was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be down here on the end of the stick just like my teacher is, who's been doing these like exercises for like 40 years." So of course he's
Mm.
just like yeah, exactly, right? It sounds like a kung
Zorro
fu
over
movie.
there.
And so I move up a little bit, and then it was easier, right? And I could actually like do the exercise, I could hold for a while and everything else like that. And I think that work life balance is a little bit like that, right? Which is why we do this show. Because if you want to be down on the far end of the stick, right?
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
longest lever possible, you
Mhm.
really need to kind of put in the time here where like things are easier, and then you gradually make it more difficult. And then if you want to hang out here, you can, but you just have to understand that like it's going to be harder to do, right? More effort is needed. So
Hmm. So
that's how I'm thinking about work life balance right now.
so tell me, because I'm still not making the connection. Like, I understand the metaphor for sure about
Okay.
workloads, right? How does that tie into balance with life for you?
Well, because it's about to me it's about effort, right? In kung fu, one of the things that like my teacher was always like talking about, right? I would land a technique, and he would just kind of come by and he'd be like, "Do you think you could do that 100 times?" And I'm like, "Well, no, sir. Then you're trying too hard. Do it more." Right? And it was just very, can you do it with less? Can you do it with movement? Can you do it without having to think about it and everything? And
Okay.
so when I'm thinking about like this, it's like, hey, if you're in the center, balance naturally happens, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if you're holding that stick dead in the center, there's no effort at all maintaining keeping both the points off the ground, right? But as you slide more towards one way or the other, more effort is needed to keep that balance, to keep that stick straight, right?
Sure.
So that's what I'm thinking about it as, right?
So keeping more of your reps towards the center for your work so that they're easier reps and you're not taxing yourself heavily for no specific reason other than your ego.
Well, I'm thinking about it like this, right? You have these like hustle people, right? Hustle, 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 sleep when you're dead, blah, 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 all that other stuff. Well, those people are all the way down here on the end,
Yep. Yep.
right?
Yep.
And you can do that, but you're going to tire yourself out, right? And so I'm thinking it much more about, man, Wednesday I canceled 3 calls. I kept 3 calls. 1 didn't make, and then 2 were just like super lightweight networking calls, right? So nothing super strenuous. That to me is adjusting the grip, right? Because I could have powered through. I could have made
Okay.
myself do it, right?
Okay. I got you now.
So to me it's like the overall view, right? If you're hitting every Saturday wiped out and burned out, and then you can't be present for like your friends or your family or your self-care or the things you're doing when you're not working,
Mhm.
you're too far out on the stick on one end or the other, and you're
Mhm.
fatigued,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
that balance is about being able to show up on Saturday as the family person while still being able to like show up the way that you need to show up in the work thing. But the more effort we do here, the more rest it's going to take on the opposite end of it. So that to me is where the balance really kind of comes into play. If you go in and you kill yourself in the gym that very first time because you're in a hurry to get swole, you
Yeah.
don't go back the next day, right? You don't go back the day after that and the day
No.
after that because it's like, man, that hurt so bad last time. I just need a little bit more time before I go back. No,
Yeah.
you just need to like go in there and not murder yourself so that way
Right.
you can be set up for continuity and success.
Yes.
So
Okay. I'm with you now. I'm with you. That makes perfect sense. So, and to me, I was trying to think of it from like a macro level. And now I'm actually thinking of the opposite. Like the stick is a daily choice where you grip the stick, right? Because there's certain days when you get out further towards the end of the stick and put
yep,
a
for
bigger
sure.
effort in. But the question is how often are you making that getting out towards the edge when you don't need to be? Like where's that
Exactly.
daily
Yes.
spot
Hmm.
or that daily grip? So yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. It's a nice, easy way to think about it.
Thank you. I was gonna try to like do. A, I was gonna try to do a TikTok video about this thing because
Hmm.
why not?
Hmm.
But yeah, I wanted to talk about it out loud, and so this is my first trip talking about that metaphor in that thing. Should I do a video?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, that
You
makes me
definitely
really
should.
uncomfortable.
Well, I think, one of the things we both talked about is we both love illustrations and metaphors, and I think those are translate just really well. Some of the content that gets the most engagement and compliments for me is around some sort of metaphor I just came up with like that.
Hmm, okay, cool,
So I always think those are great to do. Just toss it
interesting.
over the wall, see what happens
Uh,
because it's
I
helpful.
love I love Michelle's statement there. Real estate
Yep,
community doesn't believe in rest, Bill. You know, it is
100%.
weird because lots of salespeople feel like there's no rest in sales either. But when you look at the top producers, they're not scrambling to answer the phone at 7:30 a.m. because it might be a lead, right? It just
Right,
it doesn't work that way, right? So
right.
it's super easy for other people to spin up others, right? I was talking about this with someone this week around the idea of like it's so much easier to like ask someone to go do something that you're not willing. Well, you just better go work harder at it, and it's in
Mhm.
like that's terrible leadership. If you're just
Yeah,
winding your people up into chaos machines,
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah,
Terrible idea.
yeah. You look at anything, people are still focused on not just work stuff at the highest levels.
Yes.
Now, you might have to spend a fair amount of time, like, not caring about most other things so that we can get to that level, like, and that's part of the payoff, but yeah, I
Well, I
it's
think
a
yes and no because there's you can be patient and get to that level, or you can
that's
work
true.
really hard for a few years to get to that level, right?
Yeah,
But it's because there is a slow path to success, and I would, it's like the overnight success, right? Like there's really no such thing as an overnight
agreed.
success.
Yeah,
It's because they took years and years and years and years to master their craft and finally got the whatever break, whatever you want to call it, they needed, or the
mhm.
timing was just right. So,
I saw a tweet, LinkedIn response, I don't know, but it's been kinda, like, rattling around in my head, and it was like, just like you can't hustle from 1,000,000 to 10,000,000 because it's all about process and operations,
yeah,
you can't do process and operations 0 to 1,000,000.
right,
Right? Like at some point there is hustle, right? Because in the beginning you don't have a product, you don't have an audience, you don't have anything at all, and it's literally just how hard can you work to get something going, and how many times are you going to fail on that process until you actually have something that works because nothing works correctly out of the gate. And I've been
right,
thinking
right.
about that line a lot since I read it. I'm like, that is very interesting.
Yeah, because you don't want to processize bad habits, which is
Yeah.
there's a lot of them going on when you're starting that you're just trying to figure out what's working.
Right. And so many people because they they're like, "Oh, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and write documentation and SLA around this and just try to automate it and everything." And then be like, you don't even know that it's worth automating, right? It might be something that you're gonna do one time because no one cares about it or wants it or anything. So you might as well just do it manually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you and I talk about a lot is you have to go talk to your customer to
Hmm.
understand if what you think you know is correct. And then once you get that, then you can write it down. Okay, I've
Yes.
heard it now from customers' mouths. Now this can become part of our mantra, part of our message, whatever.
Yes. Absolutely.
So it
Like
works all the way.
I don't and I do little versions of this of like, oh, you know what? I need to go build some automation around this. And then I'm like, let me go, don't be an idiot. Like spend some time, and to me, that's what that start with doing the unscalable things first really leads into, right? Like in the beginning, it should be manual. So that way you know what it feels like to go through those steps and that way you can do it the right way. And my example for this, I don't know what's up with my voice this morning, is that
tail end of the stuff.
yeah, probably. Is that if someone is like sitting down to write an email sequence, right? And they're like, "Hey, I want to work with you," and now and we've been around, and I'm just following up. They're writing that sequence sitting in the lab, right? And so the mindset is going to be potentially very different. And people will be like, "Oh yeah, does this sound tough? Like, does this strike the chord that we want it to do?" Sure, yeah, absolutely, it does. And they don't ever send it to themselves,
Yeah.
right? And so then they ruffle some feathers and they can't figure out why. And it's like, well, because you don't even want this garbage in your inbox, but
Yeah.
because you didn't actually like go through the process of sending it to yourself,
Right.
you don't know that yet, you know?
Yeah. I
So,
heard a copywriter one time say, read it out loud to yourself, read it out loud to a colleague, and then read it out loud to a stranger. And that
ooh,
was like
that's
his
interesting.
3-step process for knowing if it was done or not. Now, he didn't always do that, but like if he was writing a campaign that mattered, like,
Mhm.
because when you read it out loud to yourself, it sounds different. Kind of like you were saying, you send it
Oh
to
yeah.
yourself. And then we read it out loud to a colleague. They're like, you can just read their face and be like, yeah, that's
Yes.
good, buddy. Like, okay, tell me what's going on.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
Man, what else happened this week? We hit 100 people in the Sherpa community. We're actually
Yep.
at like 101 right now.
That's right.
Some
Climbing.
people have gone inactive, and so what I normally do is go through and clean out the inactives because
Mhm.
that's kind of the coolest thing, honestly, about having the community in Slack is that I can go check and see who is actually active, right? Because like I don't want to kick anybody out if you're getting value out of it, but if you're not showing up, then I don't want a vanity metric of like a big group number, right? I want the effective number, right? So we're at 101 right now. Some very cool people, but it'll probably go down over the next like week or so as I go through and kind of do a purge of inactives and things like that. But very very happy with where it's going.
Where are you thinking that the cutoff line is? Do you know how you're going to make that choice? I'm assuming you're going to send a message that says, "Hey, if you're here, raise your hand," or something. But like, if they haven't been active for more than X days, or
There's that car, man. Every morning, now the day can start.
geez, man, and you wouldn't even believe what it is. It's like
it's
I would love to
I,
have a guessing game. So, like, all
I'm
right,
gonna
everyone in the comments,
guess
tell me what that is.
I'm gonna guess it's a 2006 Camry. That's what I'm gonna guess it
Oh
is.
gosh, wow, that's a good guess. That's
Um, uh, I don't know, honestly, right? And this is don't you kick me out, Bill. I'm not gonna kick you out, Michelle. Get in there and engage though. I haven't seen you in there chatting, and I definitely haven't seen you in sales practice lab, Michelle. I don't know what's happening there.
oh,
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 a little bit of accountability. Um,
yes,
so I
yeah,
don't I
same
don't
mic,
know,
yeah.
right? Like part of me was thinking that once we hit like 100, then it becomes a paid community, but I don't really know how I feel about that. I don't really know if I have plans to cap it at a certain amount, because that feels a little bit like manufactured scarcity, which I'm not a huge fan of. I don't I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. Like I don't like right now I'm just adding cool people to it, right?
Yeah,
Like I had a
yeah.
had a very cool lunch club call with this guy yesterday, and he's a men's coach and had a very cool chill mellow vibe just like the people who do well in the community do. And it was so funny because on the call he goes, hey, have you read Play Bigger? And I was like, okay, because I my rule around this, right?
Yep. Yep.
The more often a book comes up in conversation and everything, the higher up it goes on my list. And I was like, man,
Mhm.
okay, everyone keeps talking about this book, I'm gonna have to like check it out. And he
Yep.
goes, you know what? I haven't read it either. And I was like, do you want to read it together? I just
Mhm.
met this guy like 40 minutes ago, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, we can read it together. And so we bought the book right then on the call, right? It's going to be coming in and it's just
Yeah.
cool and nice, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I extended him an invite to the community because he just seemed like a cool guy.
Yep. Yep. For sure. That's very cool. Yeah. And Play Bigger is on my list. It's I think it's about third or fourth down right now on my list. So
It's going to be
coming
next for
through.
me. So right now I'm finishing Courage is Calling by Ryan Holiday. I'm reading Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance because everyone has been talking about it for like 30 or 50 years or whatever. And when I finish those two things, I'm going to be jumping into Play Bigger. So
Cool. Very cool.
yeah.
So what?
I just
Did I-
like Mike Towell's comment
Oh,
around,
yes.
I don't think Dylan is active enough.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to figure out which sarcastic response to make, but
Which dad joke to make in response to that?
yes, exactly. Get really, really meta on this and spout back yesterday's dad joke.
The one yesterday was good.
Yes.
Very, very, very good.
I don't like
He
your tone.
comes in deep with
He does. Okay, well, I've actually got another thought then on the group.
yeah.
When you started the group, what was like your ultimate idea for it? Because obviously you're adding cool people, making a community that's helpful for everyone. But like, where did you want to take it? Or did you know?
Sorry, there's another dad joke on the channel from Whitlock. When I started the group, it was so this isn't even the first community I've started, right? And once again, kind of going back to that thing that there is no overnight success, right? I wanted to build a community not around selling because I'm also very interested in some of these other things. So I started a community on Discord about the 4 C's of business culture, right? And started it over there and had some cool conversations. But Discord is a weird pull for some people. Like this was like maybe like 2 years ago, right? And so that was my first version of it. And then there for a while, I was trying to do a Facebook group, right? But I wasn't really putting any content in there. I just wanted a Facebook group because everyone was talking about, well, you need to have a Facebook group to make money and all this other stuff. And it wasn't. And so then when I was starting this one, it was just kind of in that same vein. Like, let's see if I can build a community. And then, I've talked about the shift with you. I don't know if I've talked about it on the show, but it was like, if this isn't the first place that I want to come hang out, it's not going to be the first place that anyone else wants to come hang out.
Right.
And that's when it started like shift for me, right? And because like before that, it was like, well, let's just see how big I can get this thing, which is weird, stupid John putting like putting quantity metrics when I should be thinking about quality metrics, right? And this is something I struggled with when we were doing Bill the last time, because I'd be like, cool, I'm going to go ask 25 people to come join the group and stuff like that. Why 25? Like I was just kind of picking these numbers and
round number,
yeah. So now I don't know, right? Like I put out the call because I do want to build kind of like a board of directors, right? Because I don't want to make a mistake and potentially do something different in the hopes of trying to improve it and then making it lesser than it currently is, right? So I don't really know what the long term is, right? Of it. It's just fun and interesting, and like the community is enough, really, I guess at this point, right? Like very cool conversations, rad people doing rad things. That's really all I'm looking for. I would think, at some point, because like there's so many different ways of doing the community thing, right? There's so many people who do like a $10 a month community, which I'm like, okay, why at $10 a month? Like that doesn't make any sense, right? And then there's things like Pavilion, which I think is like $100 a month and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about turning it into like a paid thing or I don't know.
Yeah.
Largely no direction, feeling not lost, but just kind of content with the current progress.
Yeah. Because I think the reason I'm curious is just because that always helps me figure out what the next step should be if I know where I'm trying to take it.
Agreed.
So if just to grow the group, then I don't think you have to do anything but manicure and keep going until you decide you want to do something. You have something specific in mind. Because having a paid group is great, and you kind of do. It's called Sales Lab, right? Because it's a group and people pay for it, but it just happens to be also training for salespeople.
Yep.
So that sort of thing. So in my mind, you have a paid sales group that stems off of your free group.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
I probably wouldn't make the free group paid because it's just a community of cool people that allows you to do more things that you could without it.
Yeah, that's fair. But so maybe it doesn't need to change. I don't know. Like,
yeah, I don't think so.
I don't know. I think it's super easy to read all like the ClickFunnels stuff and be like, just being
Yeah,
around me is valuable. Therefore, you should have to pay for that. And like, I'm not a
yeah,
huge fan of that mentality. I think that leads to like other bad mindset things.
for sure.
Not
Yeah.
really what I want to do.
No, well, and I believe in that only in a very specific spot, which is you have a problem that I am specifically trained and have mastery around, and you need someone to pay someone to fix it.
Yes.
Pay for my time, you know,
Okay.
because
So let me ask you this
I don't have a
question though.
widget. I don't sell a
Okay.
widget. I sell my time.
Do you do you think that there's value in paying for community?
Yes, I do.
What does that community need to provide in order for you to feel comfortable paying for it?
Something I couldn't get without without the community. Not the community itself, like, but the community gives me access to things I couldn't get to in some
So,
way, shape, or
okay.
form.
Um because I'm in a couple of paid communities, right? And the only thing that really does for me, oh, you totally missed the button,
I
by the
know.
way.
I know. I looked
And
back
I
at the
was
machine. It's like, well, there
well,
it is. That's
that
what I
makes me
sneeze
so
like.
happy. Um, uh, so yeah, one community I'm in,
Mm,
there's like a weekly call, right? And so people get to go hang out on that. Yeah, I know
mm,
they do, Mike. Yeah,
no,
and I
I've
I
done
think
it
part of it is just like a status thing, right? Like
partially.
I think there are some circles. There's the story of like the salesperson who gets like the really high end job and he goes out and he buys like the super old Ferrari so that way he can be part of the Ferrari owners club, and everyone makes fun of him like he's trying too hard, but he's networking with like millionaires and like super rich people and he hits his number and stuff, and it's because of that community,
Right,
right? And so,
right.
at what level is it, I don't know, frowned upon, I guess, right? Like,
I think paying for community is always acceptable if you are it, no matter what level it is, if you are catering to the desires of your audience, of the community. Because, like, I can literally think of communities, of fishermen who just want access to specific type of equipment that you can't get unless you're on the pro tour. But if you're part of this community, you can do group buys, right? Like,
mhm,
or just things like that, where it's like, I want access to that, and I will pay for it.
hmm,
Um, so I think there's a case to be made, but the problem with that is it's like every other group is uh, I think we often think of ourselves, not the community. Like, what
hmm.
should I charge them for versus what would they really like to have access to, and would they pay for
Oh,
that?
that's very interesting, right? Because like I wonder, because the since the Slack community has a little, hey, Sales Lab is about to start, right? It's a great little ping to
Yeah,
remind people because salespeople and entrepreneurs are moving a mile a minute and everything else like that. So having that little notification leads to more people showing up for the call.
mhm,
Now, since it comes out in the community, people think that it's something that they get for being part of the community, right?
right,
And I let people come in and try it, right? Please come in and try it if you would like. If you're watching this and you want to come give it a shot, please let me know. You're
yeah,
more than welcome to come give it a trial. But it is a paid membership thing that we
yeah,
offer, right?
yeah,
So I was kind of like met, and everyone is like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry," and it's like, "No, it's totally fine. Just just so you know, you can come for a week to 2 weeks, but then after that, it's $150 a month."
yeah.
Um, so part of me has been thinking about, well, what if the community was just $150 a month, but you got Sales Lab for absolutely free?
Right. Well, you would lose everybody who's not in sales lab probably.
Exactly,
So
right?
it would
Which
just be like
which I don't really
killing
want to do.
killing a community.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why I like the free community, and then the constant drip of, hey, there's this thing over here if you're ever interested.
Hmm. And
So
there is something to the idea of evening the playing field, right? Because I've been in some communities to where this is gonna, like, I don't know how to say this in a way that doesn't come across badly, right? But there's lots of people who are looking at being an entrepreneur, and there's people who are already an entrepreneur, right? And the way that you think about the work is different because it's no longer philosophical, like it's things that you're actually doing, right? And
mhm,
so there is something to be said around the idea that if a group is $200 a month or whatever, the only people who are paying that $200 a month are people who can afford it well, which probably indicates that they're really, really doing effort and work on this path that that community is tied to, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there is something to that idea, but I, I don't really know that that's. I just think that's interesting. I don't really know where I'm going with that point, but
Yeah, I've always my favorite communities have always been the ones that are specialty, like around a specific thing. So when I show up there, I know what I'm going to get. So uh, and that are free, so that
mhm,
I can go get some value and talk to people that are like me or that I want to be like.
mhm,
Um, and then they make offers in the group that make sense
mhm,
for the group. So
yeah,
it's like a free model with paid offers. And you just use that community as a way to literally do nothing else but build community like you're doing and build great friendships and partnerships and different things like that. And then
mhm,
for those who are also just looking for that extra stuff, we've got stuff for you. You know, we got those
yeah,
paid things. Those are my favorite communities to be a part of personally.
mhm,
Because there's no pressure and I'm getting something and everyone there gets something. So it
mhm.
doesn't feel like anyone's cheating anyone. As long as it doesn't get too spammy around the sales stuff, like here's my product,
So
here's my product.
okay, I'm in this one community, right? And where was this thing? I'm not gonna out them, but uh, I got a all good. Um, I got this message in this one community that I'm not super active in. Someone invited me to it, and I was like, "Cool, I'll come take a look at it."
Hmm.
And they're about to hit 10,000 people in this community, right? And so it says we're getting stricter with our guidelines, and it says space to ask questions and share your wins. Join the relevant channels. Blah blah blah. Filled with experts, service providers, and others who are here to help. There's no such thing as a dumb question. Just ask. If someone does a cold outreach, please let us know immediately, and we will take action. Like, so you want people to ask questions, but not salesy questions. Okay, that's interesting. For
Yeah,
service providers, vendors, agencies, freelancers, and industry experts, right? Blah, blah, blah. We're so grateful for your expertise, blah, blah, blah. Please remember that this is a community. Um, how often can service providers post? One time only about what it is that you do. Oh, like, but this community is sending me stuff constantly. Hey, you want to
yeah,
come to this event? Hey, you want to come
yeah,
to this event? And it's in Austin.
yeah.
Like, it's 3 hours away from me. And
Right.
you're spamming me at least once a month about this event. But I'm not allowed to talk about what it is I do. Like, that to me doesn't make any sense. Like, you're choking the life out of something by trying to make sure that you're the only active voice in there, right? That
Sure.
to me
Yeah.
is baffling. I don't
Yeah. Yeah.
like
That's
I
why.
almost left immediately, but I was like, "Ooh, I can't wait to talk to Bill about this." So like I'm still in there. But it says uh do make sure you're active in the channels that are relevant to your business. Do keep conversations under a single thread. Do not post the same or similar messages in multiple channels, aka double posting. Do not also send a channel like once every 3 months. Sarah, like it is so regimented. Like
Pretty
I think
rigid.
it's just yeah, I think it's just gonna die on the vine, honestly. It'll be yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds super rigid to me.
yeah,
That's why I like having channels for that specifically. Hey, if you want to go share about your business, there's a channel for that.
yeah,
Get it. Tell us what you do. And then I like encouragement of networking so that you can share what you do one on one and not have to spam
yeah.
channels because everyone hates it when people spam what they do. I was even part of a organization with Ann Small, remember? And
Mhm.
there was one lady in there who every single chance she got, she posted about her like, this is my work information. Here's our website. Here's our
Oh,
data. And it was constant. And I was
you
like,
know,
you gotta kick her out or have a conversation with her because everyone I've talked to does not like it.
yeah. We have a content flexing channel. So like if you're putting out content, please come post in that channel, right? Share it with everybody. And there have been people who were like, "Oh, okay, cool, like a new place to build an engagement pod," right? And the only engagement they do is drop in their content.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I they're not going to get much out of the community, but like I don't mind, right?
No, because
You're
it's over
but
there in that channel.
Yeah, but those people don't end up staying because they don't ever actually get engagement on the things
Yep.
that they think that they should be getting engagement on because they're not actually engaging in the community in the first place. So
Right.
they end up
Right.
kind of like fading away, which is like a very interesting kind of self-filtering process that I don't really even have to do anything with.
Yes. It's like social media. Like how
Yeah,
I'm gonna go
exactly right.
post all my stuff and never engage with anybody else's.
Yeah, and that to me
Social media doesn't
is
work.
what this community that I'm probably leaving is gonna turn into, right? And I lurk, I don't post or anything else in here, and so then at the bottom it's like, "P.S. We're sharing this info with every member. This does not mean you are violating any rules." It's
Right.
like, and I'm sure like next week to this event, like it just I don't know, it rings badly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got to go.
I do. I do. I gotta wrap because I got a 8:30 and I gotta prep for it and do
All
all the
good, my
things
friend.
before then. So sweet to be back in the
Man, it's good to see
routine
you. I
and
was
see my bill.
Man, I was playing games with Q last night. We did a session this week. He was kind of blown away. Like it was a very good conversation. And at the end of it, I said, "How do you feel?" And he goes, "How much do you charge?" And I was like, "Man," and so I was like, "Normally for 1-to-1, it's 1,500 a month." And he goes, "Dude, you need to add some zeros." And I'm like, "Thank you," you know.
That's awesome. That's good to hear.
So yeah, super nice to hear. So really, really solid week. Do you need anything today?
I don't. I don't.
Okay,
I've got my plans laid out, and I think we're in a good spot. So,
awesome,
what
man.
about you? What's your Friday look like? And
Fairly light. I have a lunch club call, I have a coaching call, and then I have a quick kind of CRM check-in call, and then I'm gonna go to my accountability meeting with my buddy Travis. So
awesome.
it's been 3 weeks because we had to move the last one. So I need to go get caught up with him in the afternoon, like I'm getting caught up with you this morning. So more
Cool.
accountability, less room for
Yes.
error.
Yes. Let's do it. Cool,
Awesome,
man.
man.
All right. Well, Michelle, have a good weekend. Good to see you.
Mike Tao,
Mike.
good to see you, sir.
Wow, that's right. Who else? Do we have anybody else in here today?
I think that's
Uh,
it. I think people
we
might
had
be
a lurker or two, that's for sure. So
okay.
thanks for
You
joining us.
lurkers,
That's right.
set some goals.
Challenge your people sometimes. So cool. Well, we'll be back Monday
Yes.
and Friday next week. So come check us out, and we will be here. But otherwise, y'all have a great weekend. See you,
See you,
Bill.
Bill. Have a good day, man.